And now I will send it back to you for our Sounders.
Oh boy, God, what a day. So we'll get into scores obviously here. So over the past week, the Sounders played May 4th versus Pumas in a 3-0 win, winning 5-2 on aggregate to take the CCL final in leg 2, winning that the first MLS team. Well, we'll get back to this. So the first MLS team to win that trophy in the CONCACAF Champions League final. I think the first U.S. team to win a trophy in CONCACAF since 2000. Setting a record attendance with 68,000, I believe it was 68,741, packed into Lumen Field, the most in a CCL game ever. That was huge. I mean, the city really showed out. This is a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
A Wednesday at like 7:30, 68,000 people in one building. How many times is that going to happen outside of sports? It doesn't happen.
It's amazing that many people showed up to sport.
And it was huge. I mean, there's always a thing in the press box where they say, no, cheering is discouraged. The press box was loud and the building shook. The press box shook during those goals. So that was huge for the city. I can't really wrap my head around how big that is. To put yourself on the world stage effectively, to put yourself on an international stage, and to solidify yourself, not only winning that trophy and being the first MLS team to win that trophy, but also now inserting your name into the Club World Cup on an even bigger stage. It's huge. And so when I see these shows around the city that they pretend to be Seattle sports and they pretend to do what we do here, and they don't mention the Sounders, so they go, we don't really count the Sounders. That's just we don't have a bleep button, but I would say a word here. It's terrible.
It is,
because they've won the second most, and I'd hold them above the Seawolves right now, because Sounders 2 MLS Cups, Seawolves 2 MLR trophies. I'd only hold them above the Seawolves simply, and then they've got the U.S. Open Cups and the Supporters Shield. But the CCL trophy, I think, really kind of makes them the clear 2.
Yeah.
And I'd hold the Seawolves at 3. But obviously the Storm with 4
are at the
above.
Top, yeah.
But the Sounders, I'd say, are the second most successful club in this city. Mariners, nothing. Seahawks, 1. Kraken, nothing, obviously. The Reign have not won an NWSL title yet, but hoping that can change. So 4 of those you can combine for very, so this was huge. And the Sounders have been a model example, for the success of American soccer. With the 2 MLS Cups, with the 4 U.S. Open Cups, with the Supporters Shield, with making the playoffs every year in their MLS iteration, to just do things the right way, and now to really have that shown with this trophy.
With 2 injuries at the beginning of the game.
Yes, exactly. To have your MVP finalist in João Paulo get injured in the beginning of a game, and we'll get to the injuries here in a second, and to have Nuhu, who is a pretty damn good defender and could be, loaned to a different club here with how much success he had in the World Cup qualifiers, to have those guys both go out in like the first 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then to score all 3 goals after that, it's I can't say enough about it. So it's fully hard. It's hard to really grasp all of this, but also to realize that this is the beginning of the season, really.
Mm-hmm.
So the Sounders won the biggest trophy that they possibly could this season. They have the U.S. Open Cup coming, which they could also win, which they've won 4 times, as I mentioned. And we'll get to that when that is, when we get to upcoming. But then MLS, they still got the full MLS run. That's why we look back to the scores here. You see that FC Dallas lost 0-2. This was a few days after that final. I don't put much stake in that loss. You had a bunch of your depth playing for a majority of the game, so I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah.
If we get to next week and we continue to see boom, boom, all these losses, sure, I'll panic then. But that's 3 days after that final. I'm not really worried.
No.
I'm not really. This is, again, the biggest trophy you could have won this season. And you already won it. So, for the week, I give them a thumbs up. Now we have to get. I look at that. I was smiling, and now we have to get injury news. It's terrible.
No, our player of the game.
What?
Our player of the game for that.
No. I'm skipping it. I thought you. Okay, sorry. For that win over Pumas, Raul Ruiz continues to show up. He always shows up in these clutch moments with 2 goals, 7 shots, 5 on target in the 89 minutes. Raul always shows up on big stages, and I won't get into it too much for later. So heading over to injury news on the 5th, we had some fallout from the CCL final with injuries. We found out that Nuhu has a thigh contusion, and as we mentioned, João Paulo, Seattle's MVP finalist last year, was reported to be a possible ACL tear. We find that out right after the final. It would be confirmed. João will miss the rest of the season, so you're going to play now without your MVP finalist. But with that being said, the Sounders have always, been able to get production from other guys on their roster. So at the end of the day, I think they'll be fine, but it obviously is a big blow to lose him regardless. So we head over and look at the MLS record, as now we don't get to really focus on CCL. The Sounders sit at a 2-win, 5-loss, 1-draw record in MLS play, 13th in the Western Conference. Looking ahead, they play May 11th versus the San Jose Earthquakes. That is a 7 o'clock start. It's technically a home game, but it's at Starfire Sports Complex.
Why is that?
I think it's just because of the U.S. Open Cup and the way that's all set up. I think that's the only reason, because when they've played U.S. Open Cup games before, they've been at Starfire, and I think that's just it's one of the I think that's just how it plays into it. But this is a round of 32 game. And then staying in the Pacific Northwest, they will play May 15th versus Minnesota United with a 1 o'clock kickoff, and that will be back at Lumen Field. So staying in the region there, but kind of interesting to see the Starfire Sports Complex added into that.